All right. Well, welcome everybody to Maryland BEPS local cohort, local government cohort meeting. We're so glad to have you here for I think it's our fourth webinar. I know if you want to include the introductory one that we had, and then fifth with our in-person meeting. So I am Carolyn Sarno-Goldthwait with Clearly Energy, and we're really excited to have you here today participating. We have a great lineup of speakers, an interactive session of questions that we're going to be asking all of you, and an opportunity for engagement. So if you want to go to the next slide, Andy. All right, so today's agenda, we're going to start off with some polling questions, some level setting. We're going to talk about getting started with audits, where we're going to have Sydney Applegate from the U.S. Department of Energy. And then we have Meredith Dunn, who's with Clear Result, representing Potomac Edison, who's going to talk about their building tune-up program. Then we'll have a discussion, resources, and next steps. As I said, this is one of our a series of our cohort meetings of discussions that we've had. As a cohort, we've met in person for those of you that were able to join in person to go over the Maryland policy. We've done deep dive on benchmarking. We've done a deep dive on BPS. We've talked about a number of resources that are needed, and then also including stakeholder engagement. One of the top topics that had come up from all of you was the idea around ASHRAE level 1 or level 2, or just building audits. Like, once you have the data, what is the next steps and what should you do? And so that's really the topic for today, is to level set. If you're like, I don't know what an ASHRAE level 1 audit is, I don't understand the terminology, I don't even know why I would want to do this, or maybe you've done one before and you want to come share your experience, that's what we're all here for today. So next slide, actually, before I go to the next slide, or actually, yeah, go to the next slide. Sorry, Andy. And then just as a reminder that this cohort is funded through the is part of our designing and implementing building performance standards, small rural and justice 40 communities, which is funded by the U.S. Department of Energy as part of Clearly Energy's Recce Award that is taking place on different jurisdictions all across the country. So thank you to DOE. Thank you, Sydney, for joining us today. Next slide. All right, so before we go into the polls, I just want to pause here for a second, and I'm going to toss it over to Sam from MDE.
Thank you, Carolyn. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for attending today. My name is, for those of you I haven't met, or maybe this is your first webinar with the cohort, my name is Sam Furio. I am the outreach coordinator for the building decarbonization team at the Maryland Department of the Environment. Our team is responsible for developing and implementing the proposed building energy performance standards. And so just want to provide a brief update on the regulatory process for BEPS. So as I'm sure some of you are aware, we proposed the BEPS regulation in the Maryland Register on September 6th. And after that, we held a 30-day public comment period, which culminated in a public hearing on October 9th. And just at this time, the department is concluding the public hearing and comment period and reviewing the comments received. And any additional updates we posted to the BEPS webpage, which I can drop in the chat after this. And good to be here again, and thank you all for attending, and I'll pass it back to Carolyn.
Great, thank you, Sam. All right, we'll go to the next slide. So now we're going to dive into some fun icebreaker, and I'm actually going to toss it over to Andy from NEAP.
Yeah, so we're throughout today's presentation, we're going to be using a polling software called Poll Everywhere. And we've got some icebreaker polling first to make sure that everyone is familiar with the tool. I just posted in the chat a link. This is how you can respond to the polling. You're also able to text in a response by sending a text message to the number 22333, and you will text NEAP 121 to the number 2233. But I would recommend using the browser version. I think it'll be much easier. So our icebreaker question, and this is how we know if you're connected to our software or not, is to please write into our word cloud what your favorite fall activity is. And one logistical note here for the word cloud: if your fall activity is multiple words, please use an underscore instead of a space. Otherwise, it will treat it as two separate words.
Some good fall activities, Andy.
Making soups. Oh yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. I always like that to like make chili. I also like football, but I like college football, but professional football, which is always fun. A lot of folks like hiking, I see.
Hiking is dominant here.
Yeah.
But also lots of pumpkin.
I think that
Pumpkin
was like me
picking,
yesterday when
pumpkin.
I was doing apples, I think, and I had that. So,
I just got rid of my pumpkin yesterday. It was starting, like when I carved it was getting moldy and sad. I
oh,
know.
sad
It
times.
is sad.
All right.
Okay.
Great. Well, looks
If
like people
anyone
know
is
how to
having
use it.
issues, just type into the chat. But we'll move on to the next polling question. Um, there we go. So have you ever participated in an ASHRAE level 1 audit? An emphasis on number 1 because I will be asking if you participated in a ASHRAE level 2 audit.
And your maybe could also be like, I have no idea what that is. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like we're kind of stabilizing around basically 50-50 with a little bit more on the no side.
Great.
So the follow-up question is, how about a level 2 audit, which is a little more intensive than a level 1 audit?
It's like a horse race.
Yeah. All right.
Ah,
Exact same results.
interesting.
That is interesting.
Well, hopefully by the end, those of you that said no are going to be so wowed and excited by what Sydney and Meredith are going to tell you that we do this again next year. Everybody's like, no, I've already done one. And here are my results, and I have a story to tell. So that's exciting. All right. All right. Well, let's turn it over then to Sydney Applegate from the U.S. Department of Energy. Sydney, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Before you start, I forgot to mention, if you have questions for Sydney or Meredith, you can either hold them, write them down, or feel free to put them into the chat, and we will get to those at the end of both presentations. So sorry about that, Sydney. Go right ahead.
No, all good. I'm excited to answer some questions later too. Thanks for having me. I'm Sydney Applegate, as Carolyn mentioned earlier, with the U.S. Department of Energy's Building Technologies Office. So I do support both the Efficient and Healthy Schools program here, but more relevant to you guys, the Data and Tools portfolio, which supports building performance standards implementation. If you can go to the next slide. So today I'm actually talking about building audits and retrofit support software. So we have probably around 10 different software in that at DOE or within the Building Technologies Office. But I will be talking about a handful of them, specifically both for audit data as well as tools that can support the retrofit process and the audit data collection process. So keep going, please. So if you have, been in the BPS space, hopefully you've seen the first couple of slides here. These are really just to situate audits within the broader landscape of benchmarking audit ordinances and building performance standards. So those are kind of our 4 key software here on the slide. And then audit template is the one that I'll be talking about today, which is a standard format for asset-based building data collection, which means building system information as well as energy conservation measures. Really focusing on that standardization and then persistency of data. Next slide. So audit template sits in kind of that same row. We got some editing issues there, sorry. Same row as Energy Star Portfolio Manager, which it sounds like you guys have probably heard about through the benchmarking space. Portfolio Manager being that key location for energy data collection, and then audit template being the space for information about building systems and energy conservation measures, but both being used by those building owners, auditors, and energy managers. And then data management being done kind of this next tier by either SEED or BEAM or Touchstone as a kind of the 3 key players in that space. Next slide. And then here are 10 jurisdictions that are using audit template. We like to show folks who else is using the tools that we're using or that other folks are using and can connect you if you're interested. Next slide. So really just quickly went through those, but we're going to get into the nitty-gritty now. What are audits? What in ASHRAE it's called a building assessment. Those are kind of interchangeable terminology here, but the key ASHRAE standard that you'll hear thrown around, so that you guys know the lingo, is ASHRAE standard 211. And there are 4 different specified levels of assessment. The first 2 are the main ones that usually you just filled out with the polls. And then the second 2 I'll call out, but are less commonly referred to and sometimes less structured. Okay, so level 1. Level 1 assessment is intended as a preliminary assessment based on both historical utility data and then a site walkthrough, which results in some qualitative assessments for energy saving opportunities and does not include energy use by end use breakdown, which in fancy people's speak means what percentage of your daily or monthly utility bill goes towards each of your building systems that are consuming energy. So how much of your energy is going towards lighting versus HVAC, things of that nature, which will be important because that is included in the level 2 audit process. And then these assessments, level 1 assessments, typically require around half a day of on-site assessment and then results in some identification of measures, but generally are then evaluated further. So then you're going into this level 2 assessment, more detailed, which includes an in-depth facility assessment, including all major building systems. So it includes everything from the level 1, but also adds on, like I mentioned, that energy use by end use breakdown requirement along with quantitative assessment of energy saving opportunities. Level 1 is qualitative, level 2 is quantitative. Via spreadsheet-based calculations or energy modeling is required for those estimating potential energy saving opportunities. And the essential difference between level 2 and then level 3 is in level 3, there's a requirement for calibrated energy saving estimations. So most of the time that just equates to level 3 is a level 2 plus a requirement for an energy model, sometimes measured data, but that's generally what that kind of translates to. The level 1.5 is kind of an up-and-coming component here that, as the 1.5 indicates, is between more than a level 1 and less than a level 2. It's not technically an industry standard yet, so there isn't going to be like, this needs A, B, and C, but typically includes some additional building information beyond what is collected in a level 1, as well as more detailed quantitative assessment of energy saving opportunities with a defined return on investment, I think is what got cut off there. The ROI values is what's commonly included in a level 1, as well as, again, that quantitative rather than qualitative assessment of saving opportunities. Okay, I know that was a lot, and what definitely sounds like we'll be diving deeper today. So if you have questions, we're, both myself and the rest of the team are happy to answer them. But audit template, moving now into DOE specific resources and tools that can help support the data collection of any of those levels of assessment, as well as alternative compliance pathways, is within the building performance standard space. But audit template was created specifically for data collection, specifically around the ASHRAE level 2, which is the most common of those assessments that I just had on the previous slide, especially within the audit ordinance space. ASHRAE level 2 was the commonly referred or required level of assessment. So anyways, to make this a little bit more straightforward for you, like I mentioned before, Energy Star Portfolio Manager is that data collection pathway for energy data, and then audit template is a parallel pathway for audit and asset-based data collection. So this can be used by public agencies or other folks who are requiring data collection. But also, if you can see at the very, very top of that list in this unfortunately small photo, there is an ASHRAE level 2 city report, which is a standard ASHRAE level 2 that anyone can access for free online and be able to download that PDF. So you don't necessarily need to be a building owner or auditor within a jurisdiction that's requiring an audit to be able to use audit template. It is, again, available for everyone. And like I mentioned around that alternative compliance pathway, a lot of the times folks or jurisdictions are altering or adding or subtracting, again, within kind of this 1.5 space or the level 1.5 space, data that they want collected through their building performance standard. So audit template is very customizable for program administrators and agencies. So we can work with you to very easily and quickly, within I think a week is the kind of the length of time we're talking these days, be able to make a report specific to what your jurisdiction would like to see. Next slide. So again, always emphasizing, because sometimes I forget to say it, it is free, and it is a web-based tool. So you just find the website, enter email, password, and then you'll be able to access audit template, which then can allow folks to collect, store, and report building energy and water asset information. Like you can see on the right side here, this is the one for DC's BEPS energy audit report categories, those key kind of main buckets around facility description. And then that generated asset report, as you can see on the PDFs on the lower left here, may be directly submitted to jurisdictions or agencies within the audit template, web-based interface to demonstrate audit completion or asset-based compliance pathway as well. Next slide. So this is again a list of folks who are using audit template. I think these numbers are probably a little bit low for what we've been seeing lately, but kind of just a gauge of who's using it, how many audits are submitted annually. And then on the right side here, you can see that in addition to audits being submitted via audit template to an agency or jurisdiction, we're very focused on interoperability, which means that a program administrator can easily download or exchange that information away from audit template towards their centralized data management platform, whether that be Beam or Seed, to then view and review and manage those data along with other data coming in from other platforms as well. Next slide. And then this is a screenshot within audit template. So just kind of highlighting a few of our key components or key features within audit template that are important for folks to understand. I think this here is a screenshot of information around the heating plant types and ventilation types. So all of these inputs here were custom and selected by jurisdiction that they wanted to collect. And then you can see on the bottom right, these kind of indicators that we're calling out around this is a required input for the ASHRAE level 2, which is useful for some folks to know, especially if the jurisdiction's requiring maybe less than that, but they want to offer. It's to say like, hey, if you collect 10 more data points, you'll also have that ASHRAE level 2 standard, which can be used for other purposes as well. Requirement field, make sure folks enter that information. We have data validations, which is an important thing to mention, and as well as that custom input specific to the jurisdiction. And then up here at the top, just calling out that we do have built-in QA/QC to ensure high-quality data submission on various fields, the ability to collect professional credentials, as well as 4 different download options for the owner and service provider to then share with either the jurisdiction or others within their space or within the jurisdiction of a specific building. Just calling them out CSV, JSON, PDF, and XML. Next slide. I think that I had more slides.
Hold on. Let me see. Sorry about that. They had all merged in.
I do also have it open if you want me to screen share. But...
Yeah, do you want to screen share? Sorry about that. I'll go back and make sure. I thought they had all uploaded in there.
Okay. Take a second to... Okay, you want to let me know if you can... Oops.
Yeah.
You see the slide deck?
It's yep. Yes, we can.
Cool. All right, it's always that the screen sharing stuff cuts off the here from here.
On the top row, oh, we've zoomed in wildly.
Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. Where did it
Just
go?
really want to make sure. Do you see this in here?
I can't actually see the. Sorry, guys. 1 second.
You can drag the zoom bar around if it's covering.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just click and drag.
Oh, oh my God, thank you. That was amazing.
You're welcome.
The joys of Zoom between Zoom and Teams.
Yes, correct. From Curtis slide. Okay. There we go. And
We're
Well,
back. All right.
are you seeing just the slides?
We're seeing presenter view. If you click display settings at the top left.
Mhm.
Yep. And then click swap.
Great. Perfect. Okay.
Ta-da!
Okay.
Sorry
Thank
about
you
that.
for bearing with me on that one. Okay. And then you're not seeing. Okay, I'm just gonna move this here. Great. Okay, now we are back. So, we just talked about audit templates, and now switching gears to a few of our different DOE resources or other DOE resources. These two that are called out here are the school energy assessment form and the multifamily building efficiency screening tool. But as the names indicate, they are specific to certain building types that over the past few years have been working with DOE and then HUD, or the Housing and Urban Development Agency, on various grant programs. So that was kind of the origin of these Excel-based tools. But what they are doing is kind of providing a step-by-step guide on how to collect the key building system information. And the important components, or both of these building types, generally have staff who have a lower technical capability. So whether that be the school janitor is trying to collect information about the HVAC systems in that school, to then be able to apply to various funding opportunities or other retrofit programs. Really trying to remove that first step or that first barrier to access other programs. And then same for the multifamily side of things, whether that's a building operator that's maybe less familiar with the energy related systems. So yes, that's the intent. And you can see from this screenshot here on the left, this is from the school energy assessment form, but the multifamily one is very similar, but just altered to be specific to equipment within the multifamily buildings. So it's going to have some photos or some, I guess, rather diagrams of what to be looking for and hand holding that the user through where to go. You go to your roof and find this or look for this, and really trying to help them along that process of being able to identify the building systems. Yeah, so again, to enable a wider audience to be able to participate in these programs. Next slide.
You have the control now.
Oh my God, sorry. Wow, we're really doing great. Okay. There we go. It's good to remember. Okay, so next is the quick building assessment tool, which was also originally developed for a school funding opportunity. But the context for the quick building assessment tool, or QBAT, is that it is an inferencing engine built on top of asset score, just kind of maybe something some people have heard about. But basically using building asset information. So what HVAC system do you have? What lighting types do you have? What's your building geometry? Those were kind of traditional questions within asset score in order to provide energy conservation measures. After kind of that maybe level 1.5 audit, nearly a level 2 amount of information was collected in order to run asset score. So kind of the niche area of a quick building assessment tool instead of asset score is you do not in any way need to go through the full level 2 assessment in order to get those energy conservation measures or those upgrade recommendations, is kind of the less technical term for that. And actually the quick building assessment tool is specifically customized and not customized, created to work well with the school energy assessment form, and we are now currently developing it out as well for multifamily spaces, and will be interoperable with the MBEST or the multifamily form on the previous slide, because both of those very much can get folks to the amount of information that you can see here on the left side of the slide. This is all you need in order to run a quick building assessment. Building name, your completed building shape, total floor area above grade, predominant use type, and then predominant HVAC system type. So most of, like half of these you can probably enter without doing any on-site audit, but on the other half, you really do need to be kind of doing that walkthrough, that at least that basic walkthrough, which the C form and the MBEST form can help the non-auditor, non-building auditor identify systems, and then be able to use the quick building assessment tool to identify energy conservation measure opportunities within their facilities for various reasons. But for a lot of these is like, okay, what can I do within my building, and then request funding from outside sources. And it's been used by over 2,000 K-12 public school facilities, over 1,000 concept papers, and $5.5 billion in funding for 2 rounds at this point. This was just for the first round, and we've had great feedback in terms of reducing the barrier to access that funding. Yeah, so core things here is being able to identify technology upgrade opportunities, as well as model various solutions and potential energy savings that could be achieved from technology and technology packages. Okay, next slide. Oh my God, I did it again. Sorry. Okay, last slide here is on Better, which is the building efficiency targeting tool for energy retrofits. I almost never say the full name, but I guess it's relevant. Better, an important thing to distinguish about Better, notes, is that it uses 12 months of utility data in order to generate energy conservation measures or upgrade opportunities. The previous QBAT, you need building system information in order to generate those conservation measure opportunities, and then Better is utility billing data, 12 months of consecutive utility, whole building utility data, the location of your building, so address, gross floor area or square footage, and the building use type. So 4 pieces of information, so similarly low lift. And then Better conducts an inverse modeling analysis, the change point model you can see in the middle slide there, to identify energy saving opportunities. And more of the focus of Better is specifically to uncover those low to low cost operational energy efficiency measures, like the ones you're going to see in the right side of the screen with blue underlines. So focusing on equipment schedules, reducing lighting load, things of that nature, as the way that the analysis within Better works is really is identifying how the energy use in your building is dependent or not dependent on the outside weather temperature. So this is going to be really focused on the operation of that building in relation to, again, temperature as outside air temperature changes. And both QBAT as well as other energy modeling systems will more holistically focus on kind of larger capital investments as well. This specifically calls out 5 to 10% portfolio-wide energy savings, but we've had partners across sectors seeing between 30 and 60%. So it's a very conservative estimate there. And then Better does also have this option to look at saving opportunities portfolio-wide. So you upload 20 buildings. Which of those buildings would be kind of a building to target a potential level 2 audit to get really deep information about energy saving opportunities and building systems, which of them is already high performer, and you can maybe say, okay, that's great for now, like let's look at best practices from that facility, or kind of your medium efficiency facility within your portfolio comparison that says, okay, like how can we improve the operations of that facility, but maybe right now we don't need to focus as much on the capital investments in that building. So those are kind of the 3 things that you can look at within that portfolio level analysis. Better also definitely importantly calls out cost savings, energy savings, and greenhouse gas savings. And then the reason that Better is within this audit related presentation is that Better does, the intent of Better is to replace an ASHRAE level 1 and streamline the ASHRAE level 2 process. So we have, seen research as well as kind of the qualitative energy conservation measures that you will be getting from an ASHRAE level 1 will often be produced, or one of the outputs or some of the outputs from a Better report. So actually I've heard that the Clear Energy team is assisting Orlando with this recently, which is a fun and exciting update. But really we're trying to focus on removing that upfront cost of just starting, right? The ASHRAE level 1 is kind of the first step in a lot of these retrofit processes. And Better is a fast, simple analysis feature as long as you have access to 12 months of utility billing data. that can help you remove and really remove the cost associated with it, as well as the time intensive, half-day on-site audit, in order to move forward with some of these initial retrofit measures, and then identifying buildings that are going to take that further step towards the level 2 audit. And you will already have some information about that building from Better. Okay, that is everything. I have some information here, or further information that you can check out, as well as please reach out to our team and we can set up demonstrations for you for any of those tools and resources that I just mentioned.
Great. Well, thank you, Sydney, for that. So we'll take control back. We just wanted to keep you on your toes this morning. I know it's early. I think it's early-ish for you, right? You're in Colorado. Is that right?
I'm in Colorado. And
You're in Colorado.
Snowing for 4 days.
Oh, snowing. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, we're going to, so keep those questions, write them down, or feel free to put them in the chat now because we will get to them. Thank you so much for that great presentation overview of all of the DOE resources. But we're going to turn it over now to Meredith Dunn, who is with Clear Result representing Potomac Edison. So Meredith, the floor is yours now.
All right, thank you very much. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. I'll go through the agenda here. So as Carolyn said, my name is Meredith Dunn. I'm an engineering manager with Clear Result, working on field support for Potomac Edison's Energy Solutions for Business program. I'm going to go through a quick overview of the program and some energy advisor services that are available. Quick slide on benchmarking. Sounds like there's already a webinar in that. And then the second half is going to be about assessments and case studies and how can the Energy Solutions for Business program help your facility with assessments. We can go to the next slide. All right, so on the right, you can see this is a screenshot from our website. Different things available through Potomac Edison's Energy Solutions for Business program. I'm not going to go through them all today, but there's different categories here that you can click on to see what incentives are available. We're going to focus in on, like I said, the energy advisor services, benchmarking, and assessments. Also wanted to point out, so I'm with Clear Result. We are the implementer of Potomac Edison's Energy Solutions for Business program. So we'll be the ones working with you to get your incentive applications in. There's no charge to our services, no additional charge other than everything's funded by the Empower Maryland surcharge on the customer's electric bill. So that's how Clear Result fits in with this program. I also put our website up. It's energysavemd-bizsolutions.com. You can go in there, poke around at the different incentives. We have everything listed, and you can also find more contact information on the website if you have questions. So you can go to the next slide. All right, so how can the program support your goals? We have a variety of different resources. Like I said, energy assessments. You'll notice we call them energy assessments rather than energy audits. And that's just because as Sydney was going through, there's specific things that are included with ASHRAE audits. We most closely align our assessments with ASHRAE level 1 and 2, probably actually more like 1.5. But they're not necessarily going to include everything that would be required to call them an ASHRAE level 1 or 2 audit. So we offer energy assessments tailored to what your building needs. We also offer benchmarking through Energy Star Portfolio Manager. We can help identify energy savings opportunities at your site. We can assist with quantifying the savings for those opportunities. There are incentives available for qualified energy saving projects. And we can also help with prioritizing projects that are identified through the assessments, or just projects in your pipeline that you need some help with how much energy they'll save and what priority you should assign to them. There also are, before we go to the next slide, there's a few different avenues for energy assessments through the program, so I'm going to get into them a little bit more. But we have the Energy Advisor Services, and then we also have two different sub-programs, the Small Business Direct Install and Building Tune-Up offerings. And through those, we have closed network providers that are contracted with their subcontractors to ClearResult. They would come in and do an assessment, and I'll talk about the differences between those two in the next couple slides. But we can go ahead and go to the next slide. So this slide's about the Energy Advisor services that are available through the Potomac Edison program. We're here to perform energy assessments at your facility. We can help with facility master planning to help meet greenhouse gas reduction targets. We can help to manage your pipeline of projects, make sure we're getting incentive applications in at the right time for your upcoming projects. We can offer facility benchmarking, project calculation support, and we also offer personalized application concierge guidance throughout the application process, which is really a fancy way to say we're here to help you submit your incentive applications, and if you have questions on what's needed for them, we're here to help. All right, we can go to the next slide. All right, so I had mentioned that we're going to go through benchmarking a little bit faster since I know there's a whole webinar on it, but just wanted to point out that through the program, we do offer benchmarking at no additional cost. Through Energy Star Portfolio Manager, it does require 12 months of your bills, so we would need to have you provide those to us. We will provide you with a report at the end that has your Energy Star score. It has the next steps for what else you can do with the program, which could be scheduling an assessment or working with our account managers to determine incentives for your upcoming projects. We also would provide you with your Energy Star Portfolio Manager login so that you can have access to all of that data. And if you're interested in having benchmarking done at your facility, then you can contact the Energy Save MD at clearresult.com email. We can go to the next slide. All right, so site assessments are also available through the program. They're offered at no additional cost for Potomac Edison's commercial and industrial customers. We are looking to identify energy savings opportunities at your site. We have program engineers that are available to come out to your facility, discuss upcoming projects with you, find out your goals for if there's anything specific you want us to focus in on, walk through your facility with you and identify additional savings opportunities. We then would provide you with a report with our findings, and you would decide if you want to move forward with any of the recommendations. You would gather quotes. You can select your own contractor, but if you're going to do any of the projects, then you would want to submit an incentive application to the program to make sure you get the incentives that are available to you. We can go to the next slide. So there's also the Small Business Direct Install and Building Tune-Up offerings through the program. This is really similar to the last slide, but the difference between this part of the program and the Energy Advisor services is that we have subcontractors that perform the assessments for the Small Business Direct Install and Building Tune-Up offerings, and those closed network providers would be the ones to identify projects that you could do at your facility. They would then provide you with a quote for doing the work. You could choose what you want to do out of their list of recommendations, and then you would work with the same closed network provider throughout the process. They would install the project, and then they would finish out your incentive application for you. So if you don't have a contractor already, that's a really good option to use. All right. And then the next slide. So I have 2 case studies to wrap us up. This first one is from an energy assessment that we did at a hotel and event center. It had 300 guest rooms, so it's fairly large. We identified about 165,000 kilowatt hours per year of potential energy savings for doing the following 3 projects here: replacing fluorescent lighting with LED fixtures, installing occupancy sensors for the lighting, and then also installing occupancy sensors on HVAC units. So this recommendation would be if your guest rooms are unoccupied, um, this occupancy sensor will sense that and set back the temperature. And then when someone walks in, just works like a lighting occupancy sensor. It sets the temperature to an occupied set point. So the savings for this was about $21,000 per year of annual cost savings. The incentives were going to cover half the cost and result in around a 1.7-year payback. Go to the next slide. All right, so here's a small business direct install case study. This was at an office that also had a warehouse attached. We identified 74,000 kilowatt hours of energy savings, and this was just for replacing fluorescent fixtures with LED. The project cost was about $75,000, and this project was able to receive $55,900 in incentives, so it brought the cost down significantly. And they were going to save about $8,000 per year just for the energy savings reduction, and it resulted in about a 2.4-year payback. All right, and then next slide. This is just some information on the program website you can go to, and that's it. So I'll be happy to take your questions at the end whenever you want to do questions.
Great. Yeah. Now is the time for questions. So if folks
Okay.
have questions either for Sydney or Meredith, feel free to put them in the chat. I see that Sydney, thank you for adding some of the links. And I also wanted to just note while folks are thinking about questions or adding them to the chat, that we will be updating your slides. So we'll send those out and repost them both in the Google Classroom, but then also when we send out the PDF, but we also have them as the recording now. But does anybody have any questions?
I put a question in the chat, but I can reiterate for Sydney.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand like the accessibility of ASHRAE audits. Is it something that you can do on your own with these tools you showed us, or are you supposed to hire someone to do them and get them certified or something?
So the facility assessment that is assisted by the school energy assessment form and the multifamily building efficiency tool, screening tool, are close to a level 1, you could say. So you're getting similar information, and then you're going to be able to then gather information about your conservation measures, but it's a facility assessment. These are all kind of vague. Okay, anyways, ASHRAE level 1s are things that very much Meredith and her team can assist you with. And then level 2s are things that auditors, people that have gotten trained to do so, will complete. I don't recommend a building owner doing an audit. It's pretty complex for in terms of building systems. And ASHRAE level 1 is something that you could probably learn how to do and get guided through it very closely with the school form and the multifamily form. Meredith might also have further answers on that question too.
Great.
And the exciting thing about some of the new Bill and IRA programs is that there are options for more auditors to get trained up so that you can access a building auditor to do that level 2 assessment for you more rapidly, as well as the Industrial Training and Assessment Center program, as well as the Building Training Assessment Center program, which is getting stood up where university students and professors will come and do audits on site for free for you as well. So that's a cool program that works directly with universities to assist with that process.
That's great. That sounds like a really great program.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add to that answer, but I did just want to point out, if you're not in the Potomac-Addison territory, contact your utility and see what they have available. And they may be able to do some sort of a walkthrough or audit assessment similar to what we offer.
Definitely.
And we plan to have invite some of the other Maryland utilities on future calls to do similar to what Meredith did today, to kind of show some case studies and other resources that are available. And I see there's Adam put a comment in the chat about just starting using SEED and audit template. They're difficult to start on your own, but the National Lab folks are wonderfully helpful, which is true. For those, if you haven't engaged with the folks from DOE or the National Labs, they are incredibly helpful. That there's some updates soon to audit template that will easily link to Energy Star Portfolio Manager utility data. So thank you for that. Thank you for that comment, Adam. All right, well, why don't we, in the interest of time, I don't see any other questions that have come in, but if you have them, please put them in the chat. We don't want to end that there, but let's move on, Andy, to the next slide. I think we have a couple of last polling questions and some further cohort updates for everybody. So,
Carolyn, did you want me to answer the second question?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yes. Feel free.
That is a good question. So there are two types of analysis within Better. One is called reference benchmark statistics, which is comparing one or more facilities against a national reference. So you're saying this building compared to 100 or 1,000 other buildings, how does my building compare to those? And so that's available in the US for schools, libraries, offices, and multifamily facilities. And then we have a much larger list, I think around 15 different facility types, commercial facility types, that can also use Better if you have 30 or more facilities, and those facilities will be compared against each other. Both are very valid analysis features. You can use both if you are within the 4 buildings that have national reference statistics as well. But that's an important thing to note for if you're understanding your facility type. But Better is very much something that a building owner could use. It's, I think, a very intuitive interface. And jurisdictions can also use Better if they have access to 12 months of utility data and be able to provide that report back to their building owners as well.
Great, thank you. All right, Andy, back to you.
Yeah, so we launched another poll. We have 2 polling questions to gauge your experiences with participating in an ASHRAE audit. The first is, what was the greatest benefit, or like, what are some good things that came out of your experience with an ASHRAE audit? And then second, the follow-up polling question is, what challenges did you encounter, or like, was it challenging and why?
All right, so while folks are doing that, Veronique, I'm sorry, did I just see you come off mute? Did you want to chime in while folks are filling this one out?
Yeah, I wanted to add just a quick technical note. So if you really, really want to automate things, Better requires 12 months of utility bills. If you're using Energy Star Portfolio Manager, you already have that information. So the Beam platform, which is derived from Seed but has a few additions, allows you to fully automate the generation of the Better report from the Portfolio Manager data, right? So it's essentially push a button and you're done. So that's kind of makes it kind of one step easier than for example, what Seed has done, which requires uploading meter level bills in order to generate the Better report from Seed. So that's available to jurisdictions.
As part of our DOE project. So thank you for that, Veronique. All right, looks like folks have added in, Andy. We've got cost and payback. Seeing all the measures later implemented, built-in calculation tools. Those are some good benefits to see.
Yeah.
We'll give another moment in case others want to up or down vote or add anything new to this. All right, looks, Andy, like it might be leveling off. Oh, another one, saving money.
Makes sense. Yeah.
That's one of the best of all, saving money, healthier buildings.
Okay, I'm gonna move to the next question, and this one is about challenges, or if something went wrong, that, what's the ugly about ASHRAE audits, and what are the barriers that folks should be aware of to make sure things are smooth? And also, if anyone wants to come off mute and just explain, that's totally an option as well.
Yeah, you can come off mute. You can also put in the chat. But if you participate in an audit, or even, we're really interested, as we've all been talking about as a cohort too, like what challenges are preventing folks from even going down this path, which is why we wanted to have Sydney and Meredith come and present today. We're hoping you leave here inspired and you're all going to be like, I want to do an audit now. I'm going to start with better, or ASHRAE level 1, level 2. Let's see. It's great. Oh, a bunch of them are coming in, Andy.
Yeah, this is good. I thought this one might be a little juicier than the previous question.
Nice. All right, so building types are variable, old buildings, numerous additions from different years, getting funding for an audit, inaccessible spaces.
As Meredith mentioned before, she obviously works with one utility, but a lot of utilities do provide at least some incentive for audits, whether or not it's a free audit. That is definitely something to look into. If you're going to do an audit anyways, you might get some money back, as while you're doing it.
Yeah, like this, untangling utility services, funding for the audit again. And that's right, Sydney. So again, we'll share more of that, but in addition to what Meredith shared, there's other resources that are definitely available for having audits done in the state of Maryland. Having a contract with an energy audit service. Great. Let's see. Any others? Maybe we'll do, Andy, a last call on this one. You can up or down vote them. You can add to it or put in the chat. Really weird building uses. You want to put in the chat if you experience what that weird building use is? Let's see. All right. Doesn't look like there's any others. All right, Andy, moved us along.
I'm moving us
Okay.
along, yeah.
You're moving us along. All right. All right, so now that we have about 6 minutes left or so, so we were going to have now time for a brief discussion before we wrap up and kind of talk a little bit about next steps. But we wanted to kind of continue based on the poll that you all just saw. If you haven't been involved in an audit, and you can put into the chat, you can come off mute, but what do you need to get started? And so some of that is that around, do you need funding? Has this been helpful for you today to kind of untangle, not only there's a web on the utility side, but just the terminology, but what do you need to get started, or what's preventing you from getting started? And then we'd love to know what other deep dive topics you would want to know about, or what other resources that you need. So just as a reminder, as part of this cohort, part of our effort that we have with the cohort is not only for all of you to come together with your peers to share best practices, to learn from one another, but is also in resource development, so that we can help you move along with helping to decarbonize the buildings in each of your jurisdictions. So feel free, if you want to raise your hand, we can take you off mute, or if you're comfortable, you can just put it into the chat if there's things that you're thinking of that would be helpful for you to get started. See, we'll give folks, while folks are thinking, one of the things that we put in there was that we had thought about as a team was just around like an RFP, a standard RFP language or RFQ language, because especially in the auditing space or folks that kind of come in and do a level 2 audit, there's a lot of companies, a lot out there that do this kind of work, and they're not all the same. And so we've talked about kind of coming up with some guidance material for all of you, some standard documentation that you could use if you're going to go out and hire somebody. Any reactions, Meredith or Sydney, on any of this from your travels of what you're hearing with jurisdictions and you know, that you hear that folks might be challenged with getting started?
And not that I can think of really. I did want to add, if you want to do an assessment through the Potomac Edison program, you're not tied into any sort of contract with us. So I don't think I clearly mentioned that, but just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I feel like that first step of, you know, feeling like you have to do a level 2 audit can be daunting sometimes. So I would definitely suggest, you know, looking for resources on level 1 or leveraging better, which is free.
Great. All right, well, I don't see any other questions that are in there in the chat. So Andy, why don't we move on to the next one? And we can also follow up with another poll, you know, in the Google Classroom, just to, if you're, as you move about your day today and into next week and you're like, you know what I really need is X, definitely let us know that. All right, Andy, back to you.
So I think we've asked in the past this question, but we want to gauge interest if folks are interested in actually doing a site visit and walking through some facilities, and maybe not, you know, doing a fully fledged audit, but experiencing a little bit of what it's like to go through the facilities and think about what, you know, what an audit would be looking for, what you need to prepare, that sort of thing. This is something that the cohort could organize.
Great. So far, 100%.
100%.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I know folks were interested in building tours when we met over the summer.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one that would be like, not like a full in the weeds, but at least like just to prepare yourselves, like what should you expect? Like if you're the facilities team, what do you need to have on hand ahead of time before somebody comes out? So that's great. It's great to see so much interest.
Do you have the number of yeses on that, Andy? Just so we know, make sure it's not like one person.
One person, Veronique, one person, we're taking them on a tour.
It's fine for one person, but it's awesome if it's 5, right?
Yeah, we'll pull those. You want to move to the next slide just in the interest of time?
Sure.
Thank you. We'll pull that and take a look at that. So as we round out the hour, we want to go back to, this was just, would you be interested in having additional future webinars on audits? So high level or a deep dive, or you have what you need. So, and again, we'll include some of these surveys when, if you do further thinking, but looks like some folks have what they need. We'll give that another minute or another couple of seconds rather for folks to respond. All right, let's move on that one then. Most folks have what they need. All right, so as we close out, and thanks again to Sydney and Meredith for presenting today, much appreciated on the overview that you've given. But as we close out, moving forward, just a couple of reminders to join the Maryland BEPS Google Classroom. If you need help or assistance with that, you can reach out to myself or Claire, who you receive most of the communications or all of the communications about this cohort, so that we can give you, so you can stay up to date in the latest of information that's on there, including any past webinars that we did, such as the deep dive on benchmarking or on BPS. There's also, please visit MDE's YouTube playlist, which has a lot of great resources on there on overviews of not only the policy, but other announcements as well. Next slide. Oh, thank you, Sam. And Claire's putting in the link to the Google Classroom. Sam is putting in a link to the Dr. Decarb, which I laugh. I love it. If you haven't seen Dr. Decarb, it's your plug. I don't want to give it away. You need to go to the YouTube playlist to see that. And then we wanted to flag for you as well that there are some upcoming meetings that MDE is having on benchmarking reporting working group. Session 3 will be held on Thursday, November 14th. Affordable Housing Provider Working Group Session 2 will also be held on Thursday, November 21st at 2 p.m. And then just stay tuned for upcoming meetings. Thank you, Claire, for putting a link in the chat. MEA, not MDE, but MEA has launched most of its fiscal year 2025 grant and loan program. So talking about funding and resources, please make sure to go again to the Google Classroom or to any of the links that you see that Claire has posted here for some additional resources to help you all out. And then stay tuned. So this is our last cohort meeting for this year. We will be reconvening back in January. So stay tuned for more information on our cohort meetings. And as always, if you have topics that you'd like to discuss or case studies or any kind of questions that you have to help move your jurisdiction forward, don't hesitate to reach out. So next slide, Andy. Ta-da! With that, there's all the contact information where you can reach us, and a virtual round of applause for Sydney and Meredith and Andy for running the polls, and Sam for your introduction before. And Sam, before I close it off, anything else on your end?
Don't think so. Thank you again to Sydney and Meredith for those great presentations, and appreciate everyone attending and bringing up discussion items and asking questions. So thank you all, and stay tuned to the BEPS website for updates on the regulation, and we look forward to seeing you all next time.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good one.